Hello, and welcome to our 50th presentation on purchasing the released product for a specific month. Today is December 29th, and we're talking about product that streets on February 2015. My name is Bob Tellini. I'm from Indianapolis on the left. Mark is from California in the middle, and Ken is on the right from New Hampshire. We'll get right into the macro look for the month. The average month is 900 million. This is 700 million. Normally I'd tell you to save a little bit of money, but not this month. There are too many good independent product pieces, and there are also many small movies that are going to get Academy Award nominations and publicity. The announcements come out January 15th, and again, this is December 29th. I have a tip sheet. We'll be using the last column, store that buys $60,000 a year. Obviously, you can use the column that's appropriate for you. We encourage you to use shelf talkers like Ken does in his store when you have a 28-day window. This lets your customer know that you have the product and Redbox and Netflix do not have the product. Okay, we're into the first Tuesday of February, and there are 4 of them. This is, there are 2 horror titles in February 3rd, both from Universal. Both have a 28-day window, and they are both PG-13, which is a little unusual. Dracula Untold, the parallel titles to me are Jack the Giant Slayer and Possession, because they're PG-13 titles and their box office is approximately the same. My recommended buy is 15 to 25. Mark?
Yeah, they are. It is interesting that both of those titles are PG-13. I agree. This one's got a $70 million budget. It did $215 million worldwide box office. Quick turnaround from theatrical release. And in my opinion, these high-end action horror fantasies tend to do very well. I'd feel comfortable doing the 3 shelves with that 28-day window. Ken?
I'd agree with Mark. I mean, this genre of horror works pretty well. And there's certainly plenty of TV ads for this. So people are going to be familiar with it. And I'd be looking, close to the high end of what you recommended there, Bob.
Ouija, or I don't know how to say it, Ouija board. That's what I'm used to saying. What I said for Dracula Untold, I'm going to say exactly the same thing for Ouija. Mark?
Yeah, Ouija without the boards, right? You know, Universal has to be very happy with this puppy. You know, this is a $5 million budget. Dracula Untold had a $70 million budget, and they almost did the exact same box office. Still, I don't know about Ken, but that IMDb number scares me. I love the box art, and these sort of movies do tend to be critic-proof. The window is nice, you know, and I like the fact that they put from the producer of Insidious. Still, that number scares me. I would be safe in the beginning and hold this to 2 shelves and maybe have some to put out later if you need it. Ken?
Yeah, I mean, I like the box art. I think everybody's familiar with Ouija and the game. The IMDb score is a little concerning. But this doesn't have the same kind of action horror flavor that Dracula does. So with that in mind and scores, I'd bring it down a bit from where Dracula was. So if we were looking at close to 25 there, I'd be looking more like, maybe 18 here.
John Wick. This is made for video. Parallel title would be Ronan. It's got pretty good scores for this kind of movie and for Keanu Reeves. Mark?
Yeah, when you say made for video, you mean it's perfect for video, DVD, Blu-ray. So it certainly wasn't made for it. Yeah, want to make sure that was clear. This is a non-stop, action-packed, guilty pleasure entertainment. It's a throwback to the Bruce Willis days when he did the Die Hard franchises. This is good popcorn, fun entertainment. I think this will easily be the best running movie of all of the releases this particular week, and I think this one's going to have legs. For me, this would be my biggest buy. I would do the 4 shelves on this, and I'd count my money. This is non-stop pleasing everybody. Ken?
Keanu Reeves, everyone's going to want to see this. The box art works just great. I know what's going on here. He's got a gun. He's coming at me. So the IMDb score is very good, 7 points.
Right. That's right. That's what I'm saying.
$42 million box office, which is a sweet spot. So it got PR, it got press, people have heard of it. I'd be at the, I'd bump up the number you got there, Bob, a bit. I'd be more like that 25, maybe 30 copies.
The best of me. This is a Nicholas Sparks vehicle. This is the 9th one of his books that have been made into movies. Boy, there are a lot of parallel titles. I recommend buy is 12 to 16. Mark?
You know, you talk about deja vu. I mean, that cover looks exactly like the Zac Efron's The Lucky One cover in 2012. Some people might get confused. I was confused, you know. Yeah, same writer, same budget, new pretty people in the cast. You know, you look how Lucky One did, and there you have it, Ken.
Yeah, I'd be looking, I think, at about 15 copies here. I mean, it's got a following. You know, the people who want the Nicholas Sparks novel films are going to seek it out and, you know, go back and look at how the others did, and I think it could be a pretty good investment.
Dear White People, I recommended buy is 5 to 7. Good word of mouth on this. This is supposed to be terrifically funny, and you should definitely get it. Mark?
Yeah, it's destined to be a midnight cult classic. This still has a limited targeted audience. You know, depending on your demographic, I'd be safe and hold it to a copy or two. But I have heard the same thing, that it's supposed to be quite funny. Ken?
Yeah, I'm thinking like 4 copies here.
We have some independent titles that are hidden gems that are reviewed by Entertainment Merchant Association dealers, and they recommend them because they'll make money for you. And the first one for the month is Hector and the Search for Happiness. Good cast. Rosamund Pike, who's obviously well known now because of The Gone Girl. Interesting premise, comedy. Recommend you buy this. Mark?
Yeah, and Simon Pegg has a strong following. Yeah, Shaun of the Dead, Paul Hot Fuzz. You're right about Rosamund Pike, and she's probably going to get nominated for Gone Girl, so she's going to be, getting a lot of attention. The 28-day window doesn't mean much because most people haven't heard of this, although they did promote it in the theaters. The scary part about this is a British comedy, and it was never released in the UK, and it really pretty much bombed here. I want to see it, but I'd say, 2 or 3 copies, even though maybe 4 because of Simon Pegg and the Rosamund Pike slant, but this is a tough call for me. Ken?
This is a hard one. I mean, it's an outstanding cast. The box art's great. I mean, that's going to jump on the shelves. And but the box office is a real downer. But the IMDb score is decent, 6.7. So I think I'd go with like 3 pieces here. Disappearance of Eleanor Rigby, another movie, small box office, and a great cast. McAvoy, Chastain, Viola Davis, William Hurt. That's a great cast. Recommend you buy it. Mark?
Yeah, it is a great cast. When you have an Academy Award cast like this movie does, and it doesn't even do $1 million box office, this is where we tell our customers, it must be an art house indie movie, and if you want to watch it, go ahead. You know what I'm saying? I think with that in mind, I pick up a couple of copies of it because of the cast.
That's the reason to pick it up. A couple of copies is probably right on the money. But if you want to watch it. Richard Pryor, Omit the Logic. This was not released at the theaters. It's a documentary about Richard Pryor, but they have a lot of him on the video and a lot of famous people talking about him and his influence. This is a good title. You should buy it. Mark?
Yeah, I think even today's generation has heard of Richard Pryor. Quality documentaries deserve to be picked up, and this fits that bill. This deserves to be picked up. Ken?
I'd bring in a copy of this. I mean, our older demographic's going to know Richard Pryor, and the cast in there doing commentaries about him, whatever, are all names everyone's going to recognize. I'm not sure we're going to get any of the younger audience interested, but we'll have it, and they can get it if they'd like. Another hidden gem, Food Chains. This is a documentary. A lot of publicity. This has been an Eva Longoria project.
to show the plight of people who pick our food. I watched the whole thing. It was very interesting. It had a lot of historical footage. Bobby Kennedy, his wife. You see people picking the food and then living on the shore of a stream, homeless. The next day they go to work. I mean, it's very moving. Mark?
Yeah, you know, again, good documentaries deserve to be picked up. Let's pick this one up. Ken?
I'd agree with Mark. I'd bring in a copy here. Although I think this may be bigger in some areas of the country than others. So
I like the box art a lot more.
Yeah, the box art works well. So I'd bring in a copy from my Northeastern store.
Another hidden gem, ABCs of Death 2. This is obviously a sequel. The premise of the story is that there are 26 letters in the alphabet. They give one to each director and say, make up a horror, death, killer word out of it and make a short. And then they show the 26 shorts in a row. Mark?
Yeah, and you had the perfect comp with the original a couple of years back on, you know, the face of a death feel to it, and, you know, these movies are, you know, they have a following. It's disgusting, but they have a following. You know, you probably could do 2 or 3 copies and it would probably rent. Kim?
It's kind of formula stuff. You can go back and look at the first one or how Faces of Death is done recently. But I'd bring it in like 2 copies.
Going to the second Tuesday of the month, Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. Parallel title might be blended. This is good family fare, good entertainment, nice sleeve. The sleeve describes pretty much the story. Mark?
Yeah, you know, this has the distinction of being the longest title and the shortest movie of the year. I mean,
That's a good thing.
Yeah, well, I don't like 81-minute movies. I feel cheated, to be honest. Wow, it's nice that week 1 was over. That was a lot of movies for this first week, was it not? Let's just call this Alexander and the Bad Day. Let's make it that easy. I comp this to Steve Martin's Cheaper by the Dozen, you know, 1 and 2. It's a Disney, it's a family, it's PG-13, you know. There's a big demand for that stuff, and I'd say, you know, I go to your high end of Bob's recommended number, and I think this will do well. Ken?
I think it's going to do very well. And, you know, this type of comedy, family comedy, is few and far between, so they do have a high demand. It's got a great cast, so I'd be looking at the high end of Bob's number as well. This is like 3 shelves.
Great.
Nightcrawler, I think we talked about this last month. I still don't have the final artwork. That artwork's not good, but I'm sure it will be much better when it comes out. Great scores. I'm even hearing that Jake might get an Academy Award nomination. That would be a long shot, but this is has a unique premise, and this is interesting to watch. Look at those scores, 8.2 and 4.1. That's unusual. Mark?
Yeah, last month I said I guarantee you Jake will get nominated, and I still will put that guarantee out there. He's a lock for Best Actor nomination. He might even win the whole thing. Really dark comedy, dark drama, very intriguing, well-paced. You know, this is going to, that 28-day window is perfect because this is going to have that Academy Award run, and that's huge for me. You know, I go to the high end of Bob's number there, and most people are going to enjoy what this movie has got to say. It's different, and it's unique, and it's good. Ken?
You sold me. So I'm looking at like 3 shelves here. And the 28-day window and a nomination would just be perfect together.
By the way, audience, when they say shelf, they mean 7 copies, so 3 shelves is 21, give or take. Other people have different numbers, 6, 7, or 8. Next title is Addicted. This is about sex, so therefore it will rent. Recommended by is 9 to 13. Might be pigeonholed as black, but I don't think it matters when the subject is sex. Mark?
Yeah, and if they had kept that theatrical poster for the box art, it would be a lot more obvious in that regard, and I agree with you. You know, I mean, soft porn, who doesn't like soft porn? Sorry, ladies, but, you know, I'm trying to tap in. I think it's going to tap into the 50 Shades of Grey market, and I think this could do a little bit of crossover. But still, do you need more on the shelf? I don't know, Ken.
The problem I have with it is when I see that box art, I just think, addicted. It's nothing about sex there at all.
Absolutely.
So I'm not sure unless something changes, it's gonna, it's only gonna turn the sex or push the sex button if somebody picks up the box, turns it over, and reads the synopsis on the back. So I'm a bit concerned about that. It's a nice box office. IMDb is pretty much just neutral. So yeah, I would be looking like maybe 70 copies.
Yeah, the theatrical poster has a naked, that lady naked behind a silhouetted curtain, and it's very alluring. They should have kept that.
Force Majeure, I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. This is a Swedish film. It's subtitled. I watched this movie, and when it was over, my wife and I talked about it for about 10 minutes, trying to figure out about what was actually happening. It's a terrific movie. I'd really be surprised if this did not get an Academy Award nomination. Mark?
Yeah, I second how you feel about this. And, award-nominated foreign movies are must-haves. Every star has to pick this up, at least one copy. And if you have, that demographic, which, I hope you do, pick up more. Ken?
I'd be looking at 3 copies here. I think, any kind of nomination is certainly going to be wonderful for it. But I think the box works well, too. And I think that he gets some attention here. So hopefully that overcomes the subtitle.
Rosewater, my recommended buy is 5 to 7. I normally don't put a $3 million movie on the tip sheet. I did this time because this is written and directed by Jon Stewart. He promotes it on his TV show theatrically. I'm sure he'll do it on video. This has got a lot of buzz. So I'm treating it as if the box office was 5, 6, 7 million. Mark?
Yeah, you have a good point there. The fact that Jon Stewart's directorial debut is a political thriller, I don't think surprises anybody. The movie's entertaining, well-paced, based on a true story, And I like the fact that they're promoting Jon Stewart on the cover. But, with all that said, I think that number's just perfect. I don't think you need to bump it any higher.
Yeah, I think Jon Stewart promoting it is really going to be the thing that makes a difference here. The reason to treat it as something other. The 28-day window, I guess if he promotes it enough, could become significant. But I'm going to be looking at, 5 copies.
I like that number.
Kill the Messenger, $2.5 million box, which I assume is a big disappointment. Jeremy Renner vehicle, interesting story, good scores. Just didn't find an audience theatrically, but certainly worth getting. Mark?
Absolutely. This is so similar to Rosewater, political thriller based on a true story. 28-day window, just about the same box office and the same IMDb number. Like you said, it does have a little more star power actor-wise, but it is Jeremy Renner well known enough to carry this movie. Rosemary DeWitt, they're both really good, but most people don't really know who they are. So, I'd maybe only do 3 or 4 copies, but, it might do better than that, but I'd hold it to 3 or 4. Ken?
I'm going to go ahead and get 5 here, like Jon Stewart's film. And I think one of the things this has going for it is not just the 28-day, but it's good IMDb scores. But I think the box office, the box art works here. And I think people will grab for it, pick it up, and then give it a chance.
Yeah, you make a good point about that box art, too.
Laggies, small box office, Keira Knightley, decent scores, kind of unusual movie, a coming-of-age film, and the person coming of age is Keira Knightley, who's not exactly young. She's in her late 20s, I would guess. But it's worth getting. Mark?
Yeah, and there's a little typo there under actors that Chloe starts with a C. Grace Moretz. I didn't catch that. No problem. Just a terrific cast. They actually promoted the heck out of it when I was at the theater, so that it didn't do more, I'm a little bit surprised, That's an excellent IMDb number, and 30% of those voters gave it a 10. A 20-something edgy rom-com. I like that idea. I think the box art's fine. If it wasn't R, but even so, I might do 4 or 5 copies on this. Ken?
The box art works. I mean, you know what you're pretty much what you're getting into here, and you're gonna. If it's interesting, you're gonna pick it up, and check it out. I've been looking at like 3 pieces here.
The song, a musical, so to speak. The premise of the song is a man writes a song for his wife, and then it becomes a big hit, and it causes a problem in his marriage. Not a big cast in terms of names. Mark?
Yeah, I always, a musical to me is when they break out the song to carry the plot along, and a song with music in it is like, a movie with music in it, like the song is just, a drama. So that's what I'm going to call this, and, you know what you're getting. It's, it's going to appeal to a certain amount of people, and, I'd say a couple of copies is appropriate here, Ken?
Yeah, I think Mark nailed it there. I think 2 copies of this would be just right.
Predestination. Obviously, Ethan Hawke is well known. What astounds me is the number of votes at IMDb and the number of votes at Rotten Tomatoes. This has got to be some kind of film festival darling.
I agree.
Interesting title, and you got to get it, Mark.
Yeah, you make such a good point. I was thinking the exact same thing, practically direct to DVD. 2/3 of the IMDb voters gave this an 8 or higher with all those people that voted. So this must be good. I'm going to say, budget permitting, I'm going to do a shelf on this, and I bet you have a good ROI. Ken?
I love the box art. And the IMDb scores and Rotten Tomatoes are outstanding. And that is an awful lot of votes to come in. And I like the storyline, too. So, I'm with Mark, at least the shelf of this. This is going to be a sleeper that takes off big.
I agree.
We're on to the 3rd Tuesday of February. Dumb and Dumber 2, recommended by 20 to 30. Good. I don't know what to say about this title. The title and the box art says it all. Mark?
Yeah, I don't want to seem stuffy, but I wasn't a big fan of the first, and people that were didn't really care for this. But, I hate to say this, but this is going to rent well. That 28-day window is a big plus. This is a no-brainer in every sense of the word. Get it? Go big and be happy. Ken?
It's a great cast besides Carey and Daniels. The IMDb scores are decent and pretty good. Notice the difference in the number of votes between this and the title we just looked at earlier. But
absolutely.
It's been so long since the first one. I don't even remember when Dumb and Dumber came out. That I'm not sure how people would even relate to it. But, 84 million is a great box office. So I can't argue with the box office. So I'd be going towards the higher end of box number there.
St. Vincent. This is my bet for Academy Award nominee and winner, Bill Murray. He is just terrific at this. Whatever you think Bill Murray is, he is in this movie. Just terrific. And by the way, this and the next 4 movies are all Academy Award nomination movies. As far as I'm concerned, good parallel to this is Little Miss Sunshine, but better. Mark?
Well, I wouldn't say it was better than Little Miss Sunshine. I absolutely love that, but I adored this movie as well. I adored this movie like you adored this movie, and I think Bill Murray deserves to be nominated, but he's not getting a lot of attention. I don't think the Screen Actors Guild even nominated him. But this is a hell of a movie. It's fresh, it's funny, it turns out to be hugely uplifting. Naomi Watts is going to get nominated. You know what? I'll give you a money-back guarantee that this will be huge on DVD and Blu-ray. I don't know how huge, but this is going to be huge. I love this movie. High end of Bob's number easy for me. Ken?
Yeah, it's a sweet spot with the box office there, 42 million. The cast is stellar, and people are going to want to see this. And IMDb says they're going to be happy when they do see it. So I'd be at the high end of Bob's number. We've got to talk at least 3 shelves here. 20. I'd be more like the 25 number.
Yeah, more important than IMDb says you're going to be happy. Bob and I say you're going to be happy. So, you know, what else do we need to say?
Yeah, with a written guarantee. Birdman is still going. I think it'll top out easily over 30 million. It's more of an art house film, but it is very highly talked about everywhere. And this will be a solid title. My recommended buy is 12 to 16. Mark?
Okay, so this is an actor's movie. It's cerebral, it's tough to follow, it's somewhat confusing, but there are people like myself that embraced it. I enjoyed it, but most customers, I don't think so. That 28-day window 2 weeks before the Academy Awards makes Bob's number look right, but I'm warning you, most of your customers will not care for this. Some of them will love it like I did. Most will not care for it. It's that kind of a movie. Ken?
I've got a pretty mainstream audience in my store, so I'd probably be looking at the lower end of Bob's number and probably go with, I might just put out a shelf and keep a few on the side to see if I need them. But the cast is going to get some people to rent it, no doubt, and we'll see where it goes from there.
I think you're smart.
The Theory of Everything. It's at 22 million now, but again, this will top out at 30 million. My recommended buy is 12 to 16. This is, again, an art house movie that does 2 million or 3 million every week for a lot of weeks. The problem with this movie is that you know the beginning, you know the middle, and you know the end before you see it. And it's a terrific movie, but there's no surprises. Mark?
Yeah, the performances were terrific. There's no doubt will be another Academy Award nominated movie with that 28-day window streeting 2 weeks before the Academy Awards, which really helps. But the movie is slow, and it meanders. It's very British. You know, I'm like Birdman. I probably hold this to a shelf and keep some copies if I needed them. And that's just how I feel. Ken?
I agree with you wholeheartedly. That's exactly what I would do, is put out a shelf and hold some copies on the side and see what happens.
Life Itself. I think this will get an Academy Award for Best Documentary. I watched the whole thing. It's very interesting, very hard to watch because it shows Roger Ebert in a lot of pain, fighting to be normal. It's very moving. Mark?
I agree. Everything you say, I second. And with the exception of, you know, it's always so hard to predict who's going to win that Best Academy Award documentary. But I definitely pick up 2 copies on this. Anybody that loves movies needs to see this. Has spent a lifetime loving movies. You should see this. Ken?
I'm going to bring in 3 copies. And, you know, this is not something people are renting for entertainment value. This is something they're renting to curiosity, where they really want to, you know, understand what his life was like, especially towards
exactly.
So I think 3 is the right number.
VHS Viral. This is the 3rd title of VHS. Most stores say this did decent. This has got terrible numbers and terrible reviews, but people who saw the first 2 will probably watch this. Mark?
Yeah, you know, it's so retro, you know, they don't call it DVD viral, right? This is the VHS franchise, baby. I don't really care for the box art, but, you know, it's R-rated, horror, and I always rent. You know, look what the other 2 direct-to-DVDs did, and there you have it. Ken?
Yeah, just look at the first ones and, you know, follow suit. In my case, I'm going to probably bring in 2 pieces.
The World Made Straight. Nice cast. This Noel Weil was on ER from the beginning to the end. Haley Joel Osment is known, and Jeremy Irving was the lead in Warhorse. Good cast, Appalachian-type story, well done. This was made for the theater, even though it wasn't released. It's a nice title. Mark?
Well, it's scheduled to be released January 9th, a limited theatrical release, Bob. And absolutely, it's a good movie. People are going to be glad they rented it, and a very highly recognizable cast. They recognize the faces even if they don't know the names. And I say a few copies for shelf presence would work here. Ken?
Yeah, I'm agreeing with that. I'd be thinking like 4 copies here. I mean, box art is really what this is all about. And they get the faces on there so people who don't know the names will recognize it. We got 2 shotguns. I mean, yeah, I think we'll do okay with 4.
The Home Spun, while it only grossed $2 million, this has got a lot of publicity. Tommy Lee Jones and Hilary Swank are respected, and they're also popular. So you have to have this. Mark?
Absolutely, you know, and there's an outside chance Hilary Swank, she's getting some recognition for her performance in this. She might get nominated. Westerns, Rent, Tommy Lee Jones, Rents. This is an easy one-shelf call for me, and maybe even more. Ken?
Yeah, I mean, Tommy Lee Jones and, you know, Hillary, it's a sure bet that you need to have this, and it's a sure bet it's going to do well, as long as you don't go overboard with it. So I'd be looking at maybe 5, 6 copies.
Dying of the Light. I include this because what would be a month without a Nicolas Cage movie? Mark?
That's true. Nicolas Cage has officially joined the club of former mega superstars who now go direct to DVD. You know, that could be a good thing, and it typically is. And, you know, like Bruce Willis, John Cusack stuff, they always seem to rent. And this film is by the same writer that did Taxi Driver and Raging Bull. But then you say 4.3 IMDb number? That just plain scary. I trade carefully with this. You're going to get some probably pissed off customers. Could be so bad, but it does have Nicolas Cage. Ken, you get to pick the number.
Nicolas Cage rents, and he rents, and he rents. You know, so that's the really difficult thing here. I'd be looking at 4 pieces here, and I might even bring in a couple more and just keep them on the side in case I do need them.
We're now on to the last Tuesday of the month, the 4th Tuesday. There is very few titles. Either they're going to be very few titles, or independents have not released their titles because of Christmas and New Year's, or people in the first week, February 3rd, which is extremely busy, they'll move some of those titles will move to February 24th. Just to warn you, stay on your toes. Big Hero 6 is from the Disney Studios, and the Disney Studios are back, especially with Frozen. The parallel title for this, to me, is Wreck-It Ralph, which is also Disney Studio. My recommended buy is 15 to 25. Mark?
Yeah, I think they might have multiple box art options for this. I'm not sure, but Disney often does it with that kind of stuff. This was a huge box office smash hit for Disney. Everybody likes it. Look at that IMDb number. I would say that for me, biggest box office of the month, in no competition that week, you know, your top number might be too low. You know, keep in mind you can sell off those used copies easily on these Disney things. What do you think, Ken?
Yeah, I think this is a real safe bet. You know, the IMDb score just says what we all know. $200 million. I mean, it's, you know, what can you say? I mean, this is, I think you're right. I think the high end of Bob's number there, the 25, is the low end of what you want to consider.
Right.
Beyond the Lights, 28-day exclusive, hidden gem, $14 million box, interesting story, decent scores. Hopefully it won't be typecast as a black movie. It's a story beyond black and white. It's just a romantic drama. Mark?
Right, and it has Minnie Driver in it. Gugu Mbatha-Raw. Boy, is that a mouthful, right? Well, she won the Academy Award last year in 12 Years a Slave. She's a wonderful actress. You know, it's definitely an urban rom-com, but I agree with Bob. It might have some mainstream crossover, and depending on your demographic, maybe you do a shelf, you know. There's nothing else coming out this week, so that's probably the call here. Ken?
I think that's an important factor in what else is up against this week, which is nothing. So I'd be bringing in, you know, 4 pieces anyway.
Oh, what's something else? Get out of here.
This might have an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor with J.K. Simmons. He plays a tyrant music teacher trying to get the best out of his students. This has got a lot of buzz. Look at that IMDb score. You rarely see 8.7 and 4.5. It's at 5.5 million now, but this is one that might creep up to 10 million if they get those Academy Award nominations. Mark?
Right. I didn't know this was streeting in February. This is my favorite movie of the year, period. It's that good. I loved it. I've already seen it twice. And J.K. Simmons, you guys probably don't know who he is. He was the father on Juno. He does. He's probably going to win Best Supporting Actor for this. And Miles Teller did a terrific job. I love this movie. Everything about this movie. This is a fantastic movie. It's not just about jazz. It's about life, you know, and this is going to get word of mouth. But all that said, I think, you know, Bob's probably got, Shelf is probably right. But depending on what it gets nominated for Academy Awards, great movie. Ken?
Well, I didn't know this was coming out in February either. And I haven't seen it. But based on what you guys have said, I guess I'm in for a Shelf.
It was just dropped in, by the way. That's why it's a surprise to you. Okay, the assumptions, we don't go over them anymore. I want to say thanks to Mark and Ken. Take it easy. See you next month.
Thanks to Bob.
Thank you guys both.
Have a nice day.